The call came in just past midnight.
A trembling voice, barely above a whisper, pleaded through the line. "Please, help me. He's still here. I think he's watching me." The dispatcher tried to get more details, but the call abruptly ended. Police traced the call to a small apartment in downtown Chicago. When they arrived, they found 22-year-old Jessica Carter, a college senior, curled up in the corner of her dimly lit bedroom, shaking uncontrollably. Her face was bruised, her wrists bore red marks, and her dress was torn. The room smelled of sweat and fear. Hold on, if you like this true crime documentary story you are watching now, subscribe to the channel for more updates. Thank you. But the most terrifying part? The window was slightly open.
The attacker was gone.
Jessica was a journalism major at Northwestern University, known for her intelligence and ambition. She had just completed an internship at a local newspaper, hoping to become an investigative reporter. Her life was on track, until that night stole everything from her. Her neighbor, Mrs. Reynolds, an elderly woman who lived down the hall, told police she had heard a faint thud around 11:30 p.m. but dismissed it as apartment noise. Jessica, still in shock, could only recall fragments of what had happened. She had been alone in her apartment, studying for an exam. Then, the sound of footsteps. A hand over her mouth. Darkness. Detectives Mark Reynolds and Lisa Ortega were assigned to the case. The evidence was horrifying: a torn bedsheet, traces of blood, and a half-empty glass of wine laced with benzodiazepines, a sedative. The first suspect was Daniel Hargrove, Jessica's ex-boyfriend, who had been texting her obsessively since their breakup 2 months prior. His alibi? He was at a bar with friends. Security footage confirmed it. The next lead came when detectives found a glove near Jessica's bedroom window. Inside was a small white fiber, possibly from a sweater. Forensic analysis would take time, but it was something. In the days following the attack, Jessica withdrew from everything. The bright, determined woman who once chased truth now lived in fear. She barely slept, jumped at sudden noises, and couldn't step outside without feeling watched. She was examined at the hospital, where a rape kit was performed. The results revealed traces of an unknown male's DNA. It wasn't a match to Daniel. So who was it? 2 weeks later, forensic results on the fiber came back. It was wool from a navy blue sweater, commonly worn by security guards.
Detective Ortega had a gut feeling.
The apartment complex had 2 night guards, one in his late 50s, the other 27-year-old Bryan Keller, who had been working that night. Jessica had always found Keller odd. He stared too long. Once, he made an inappropriate comment about her dress. When detectives brought Keller in for questioning, he appeared nervous but cooperative. "I was making rounds. Never left the lobby," he insisted. But the detectives weren't convinced. Security footage showed a gap in his rounds, about 23 minutes unaccounted for. The lab results were the final nail in the coffin. The DNA from Jessica's rape kit matched Keller's profile in the system from a prior assault case that never led to conviction. With this evidence, detectives arrested Bryan Keller at his workplace. As they cuffed him, he barely resisted. "I knew you'd come," he muttered. The courtroom was packed. Jessica, stronger than she had been weeks before, took the stand. She detailed every chilling moment of that night, her voice steady but her hands trembling. Keller's defense attorney argued there was no forced entry, implying Jessica might have invited him in. The implication made her sick. But then, the prosecution presented the 911 call.
Jessica's desperate voice.
The fear.
The raw truth.
The jury listened intently as the forensic expert confirmed the DNA match. Keller had no defense. After 3 hours of deliberation, the jury returned. The courtroom was silent as the judge read the verdict. "We, the jury, find the defendant, Bryan Keller, guilty of sexual assault in the first degree." Jessica let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Tears streamed down her face, not of pain, but of relief. Keller was sentenced to 25 years in prison, with no chance of parole for 15 years. As Jessica stepped outside the courthouse, the sun felt warm on her skin. She knew the scars would remain, but she had won. She had found her voice again. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel for more updates daily.